A tired-looking young woman in scrubs walks down a quiet city street at dusk. Her face shows signs of stress and she carries a small bag over her shoulder. The warm orange glow of streetlights illuminates the sidewalk as cars pass by in the background. A modest suburban home is visible further down the road with soft light glowing from its windows. Emily Carter had always believed in doing the right thing, even when it was hard. For over a decade, she had worked tirelessly as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital, dedicating her life to helping others. But lately, things hadn't been going well for her. Budget cuts and office politics had taken their toll, and despite her best efforts, she found herself facing something she never thought possible: losing her job. It wasn't fair, really. Emily loved what she did. She woke up every morning knowing that her work mattered, that she could make someone's day just a little bit brighter, or save a life entirely. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. The hospital administration had called it restructuring, but to Emily, it felt like betrayal. After years of service, she was being let go because they needed to cut costs. It hurt more than she cared to admit. Her final shift at St. Mary's was bittersweet. She spent most of it tying up loose ends, saying goodbye to coworkers who promised to keep in touch, though she doubted many would, and comforting patients who didn't know this would be the last time they saw her. By the end of the day, she felt drained, not just physically but emotionally too. As she clocked out for the very last time, she couldn't help but wonder what she was supposed to do next. The walk home didn't take long. Emily lived in a modest neighborhood on the edge of town where houses were close together and lawns were neatly trimmed. It was peaceful here, away from the chaos of the city, but tonight, the silence felt heavier than usual. Her mind raced with questions. How would she pay her bills? What about her dreams of someday starting a family? Would anyone hire her again after so many years in one place? Lost in thought, Emily almost didn't notice the figure lying motionless on the sidewalk ahead. At first glance, it looked like a pile of clothes discarded carelessly by someone passing through. But as she drew closer, she realized it was a man slumped against the curb with his eyes closed. His breathing was shallow, his skin pale under the dim glow of the streetlight. Without hesitation, Emily dropped to her knees beside him. Years of training kicked in automatically. She checked for a pulse. It was weak but steady, and quickly assessed his condition. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, dressed in business attire that suggested he might have been heading home. From work? There were no obvious injuries, but something was clearly wrong. "Sir, can you hear me?" Emily asked, gently tapping his cheek. The man stirred slightly, groaning faintly but not opening his eyes. She reached for her phone to call emergency services, all while keeping a close eye on him. Talking softly, she reassured him that help was on the way. "You're going to be okay," she said firmly, though part of her wondered if that was true. Without proper medical equipment nearby, there was only so much she could do. Minutes later, an ambulance arrived, its sirens wailing softly as it pulled up beside them. Paramedics jumped out, immediately taking charge of the situation. Emily stayed close, answering their questions and providing details about what she had observed. As they loaded the man onto a stretcher, he opened his eyes briefly, locking gazes with her. "Thank you," he murmured weakly before slipping back into unconsciousness. Those two words hit Emily harder than she expected. Despite everything she had been through recently, the unfair firing, the uncertainty about her future, this moment reminded her why she became a nurse in the first place. Helping people wasn't just a job, it was who she was. Once the ambulance sped away, Emily stood alone on the empty street, watching its red lights fade into the distance. She felt a strange mix of emotions: relief that she had been able to help, sadness that she wouldn't know whether he survived, and frustration at how powerless she often felt these days. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter meant something, that maybe it was a sign telling her not to give up hope. As she resumed her walk home, Emily tried to push the incident out of her mind. Life was complicated enough without dwelling on strangers' fates. Yet, deep down, she couldn't ignore the tiny spark of optimism that flickered inside her. Maybe tomorrow would bring something unexpected. Something good. A modest suburban home with a small garden in front, bathed in the soft morning sunlight. 4 luxury cars, a sleek black Mercedes, a silver Porsche, a red Ferrari, and a white Range Rover, are parked outside on the street. A young woman in casual clothes stands at the doorway of her house looking surprised as 4 well-dressed men step out of the cars. The scene has a mix of awe and curiosity, with warm golden light creating a dreamlike atmosphere. The next morning, Emily woke up to an unusual sound outside her house. At first, she thought it might be construction workers or delivery trucks passing by. Nothing too unusual in her quiet neighborhood. But when she pulled back the curtains and peeked outside, her jaw dropped. 4 luxury cars were parked neatly along the curb in front of her home. A sleek black Mercedes, a shiny silver Porsche, a bold red Ferrari, and an elegant white Range Rover. Each vehicle gleamed under the morning sun, standing out starkly against the modest houses and trimmed lawns around them. Emily blinked, half expecting to see someone filming a commercial or hosting a car show nearby, but no cameras or crowds were in sight. Curiosity got the better of her, so she opened the door cautiously and stepped onto her porch. Before she could even process what was happening, 4 sharply dressed men climbed out of the cars. They moved with confidence, their polished shoes clicking softly on the pavement. One of them, a tall man with graying hair and a kind smile, approached her directly. "Good morning, Miss Carter," he said warmly, extending his hand. "My name is Mr. Parker. I hope we're not disturbing you." Emily hesitated for a moment before shaking his hand. Good morning," she replied, still trying to make sense of the situation. "Not at all, but may I ask what's going on?" Mr. Parker chuckled lightly, clearly amused by her confusion. "Of course. Allow me to explain." He gestured toward the other men who stood patiently behind him. "We represent the Harper family. We're here because of something remarkable you did yesterday." Emily frowned, unsure what he meant. "Something I did? I'm sorry, but I don't understand." Another man stepped forward, this one younger with short dark hair and a calm demeanor. "You saved a man's life last night," he explained. "His name is Daniel Harper. You found him unconscious on the street and provided critical care until paramedics arrived." Recognition dawned on Emily's face. "Oh, that man." She shook her head, still processing the information. "I just did what anyone would do." "Is he okay?" "He's stable now, thanks to your quick thinking," Mr. Parker confirmed. "And that's why we're here, to thank you personally." Emily felt a wave of relief knowing the man she'd helped was safe, but she still didn't understand why these men had gone to such lengths to visit her. "Thank you, but isn't a call or a letter enough? These are some very fancy cars." The men laughed politely, clearly charmed by her honesty. "Mr. Harper believes actions speak louder than words," Mr. Parker explained. "He wanted us to express his gratitude and perhaps discuss something important with you." Now Emily was truly intrigued. "Important? Like what?" "May we come inside?" Mr. Parker asked gently. "It's a bit much to explain standing. Out here?" Feeling slightly overwhelmed but unable to refuse, Emily nodded and led them into her living room. It wasn't exactly designed for high-profile visitors. The furniture was simple, and there were a few mismatched throw pillows on the couch. Still, the men didn't seem to mind. They took seats politely while Emily perched nervously on the edge of her armchair. Once everyone was settled, Mr. Parker began speaking again. "As I mentioned earlier, Daniel Harper owes you his life. When he regained consciousness, he insisted that we find you and properly acknowledge your kindness." Emily waved her hand dismissively. "Really, it's nothing. I've been trained to handle situations like that. Anyone else would have done the same." "That's precisely why we admire you," another man chimed in. His name was Mr. Lewis, and he spoke with genuine respect. Not everyone would stop to help a stranger, especially after a tough day. "From what we understand, you've been through quite a lot recently." Emily's cheeks flushed slightly. She hadn't expected anyone to know about her struggles, let alone strangers in expensive suits. Well, yeah, I lost my job recently, she admitted reluctantly. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't help people. Mr. Parker leaned forward, his expression serious yet friendly. That's exactly the kind of attitude we value. Which brings us to why we're really here. Daniel Harper is the CEO of HarperTech, one of the largest technology companies in the country. He believes your skills and compassion could be invaluable to our organization. Emily stared at him blankly. Wait, what? We'd like to offer you a position at HarperTech, Mr. Parker continued smoothly. Specifically as the head medical consultant for our healthcare division. Your experience and insight would play a crucial role in shaping new technologies designed to improve patient care. For a moment, Emily couldn't breathe. This had to be a joke. Or maybe she was dreaming. People like her didn't get offers like this. She glanced around the room, half expecting someone to jump out and yell, "Gotcha!" But the men looked completely serious. I don't know what to say. Emily stammered finally. This is incredible, but why me? I'm just a nurse. I don't have a degree in engineering or anything like that. A third man, Mr. Scott, smiled reassuringly. That's exactly why you're perfect for the job. You bring real-world expertise that most of our team lacks. You've worked directly with patients, seen their struggles firsthand. That perspective is priceless when developing tools meant to save lives. Emily thought about it for a moment. It made sense in a way. If she accepted this offer, she could potentially influence the future of medicine in ways she'd never imagined. Still, the idea of stepping into such a prestigious role terrified her. What if I mess up? She asked quietly. What if I can't live up to expectations? Mr. Parker placed a comforting hand on his knee. No one expects perfection from you right away, he assured her. All we ask is that you bring your passion and dedication to the table. Everything else will fall into place. Despite her doubts, Emily couldn't deny the appeal of the opportunity. After years of feeling stuck in her nursing career and now unemployed, this felt like a chance to start fresh, to prove herself, to make a difference on a larger scale. I'll need some time to think about it, she said eventually, her voice steadier than before. This is a big decision, and I want to make sure I'm making the right choice. The men nodded understandingly. Take all the time you need, Mr. Parker replied. We'll leave our contact information with you so you can reach out whenever you're ready. After they left, Emily sat alone in her living room, staring at the folder they'd given her. Outside, the luxury cars remained parked on the street, gleaming under the morning sun. For the first time in weeks, she felt a spark of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Emily stood frozen at the doorway of her small house, staring at the four men who had just stepped out of their expensive cars. They were dressed sharply, wearing tailored suits that screamed wealth and importance. She felt completely out of place in her worn-out jeans and simple t-shirt, but she managed to smile politely as they approached her. Good morning, Miss Carter, one of the men said, extending his hand toward her. His voice was calm and confident, the kind of tone people use when they're used to being listened to. We apologize for showing up unannounced like this, but we wanted to speak with you personally. Emily shook his hand hesitantly, still confused about what was happening. Sure, she replied, stepping aside to let them into her home. The inside of her house wasn't anything fancy, just a cozy space with mismatched furniture and family photos scattered around. But the men didn't seem to notice or care. They walked in and took seats on her couch while Emily nervously sat across from them in an armchair. My name is Mr. Parker, the man continued, gesturing to himself. And these gentlemen are Mr. Lewis, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Bennett. Each of the other men nodded briefly as their names were mentioned. We represent the Harper family, he added, pausing to see if Emily recognized the name. Her eyes widened slightly. Harper, as in Daniel Harper? She asked, thinking back to the man she had saved just the day before. Mr. Parker smiled.
Yes, exactly. You might not know it, but your actions yesterday saved his life. And now we're here to express our gratitude. and offer you something truly special. Emily blinked, unsure how to respond. I don't understand, she stammered.
I was just doing what anyone would do. The men exchanged glances, clearly impressed by her humility. That's precisely why we're here, Mr. Lewis chimed in. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. You see, Daniel Harper isn't just any person. He's the CEO of Harper Tech, one of the largest technology companies in the country. When he regained consciousness after the incident, he made it clear that he owed his life to you. And in our family, debts like that aren't taken lightly. Emily shifted uncomfortably in her chair. She didn't want to sound rude, but none of this felt real. Look, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't need anything, she said softly. I'm glad I could help, but nothing, Mr. Scott interrupted gently. Miss Carter, please hear us out. What we're offering isn't charity. It's an opportunity to change your life and make a real difference in the world. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder, handing it to Emily. Inside were papers detailing a job offer unlike anything she'd ever imagined. According to the documents, Harper Tech wanted her to become the head medical consultant for their healthcare division. Her role would involve overseeing the development of new medical technologies, ensuring they were safe, effective, and ethical. The salary listed was jaw-dropping, enough to cover her bills for decades. There were also additional perks: full ownership of her current home, access to state-of-the-art medical facilities, and even funding for further education if she chose to pursue it. Emily stared at the papers, her mind racing. This had to be some kind of mistake. People like her didn't get offers like this. Yet, the men sitting in front of her looked completely serious. I don't know what to say, she admitted finally. This is incredible. But why me? I mean, I'm just a nurse. I don't have a degree in engineering or business or anything like that. Mr. Bennett chuckled warmly. That's exactly why you're perfect for the job, he explained. You bring a perspective no one else can. You've spent years working directly with patients, understanding their needs and challenges. That kind of insight is invaluable when creating tools and systems designed to save lives. Emily thought about that for a moment. It was true. She did have first-hand experience with the struggles of modern healthcare. If she accepted this offer, she could potentially influence the future of medicine in ways she'd never dreamed possible. Still, the idea of leaving behind everything familiar terrified her. What if I mess up? She asked quietly. What if I'm not good enough? Mr. Parker gave her a reassuring smile. No one expects you to have all the answers right away, he said. We'll provide training and support every step of the way. All we ask is that you bring your passion, your dedication, and your heart to the table. Everything else will fall into place. For the first time since they arrived, Emily allowed herself to consider the possibility. Maybe this really was her chance to turn things around, not just for herself, but for others too. She thought about all the times she'd felt powerless, as a nurse, unable to give her patients the care they deserved because of limited resources or outdated equipment. Now, here was an opportunity to change that, to create solutions instead of just treating symptoms. I'll need some time to think about it, she said eventually, handing the folder back to them. This is a big decision, and I want to make sure I'm making the right choice. The men nodded understandingly. Of course, Mr. Parker replied. Take all the time you need. We'll leave our contact information with you so you can reach out whenever you're ready. After they left, Emily sat alone in her living room, staring at the folder they'd given her. Outside, the luxury cars remained parked on the street, gleaming under the morning sun. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet imagine. A sleek modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a bustling city skyline at sunset. A young woman in professional attire sits at a large desk filled with papers and a laptop. She looks thoughtful, staring out the window as if contemplating something important. On one side of the room, shelves are lined with books and awards. The atmosphere is calm but carries a sense of tension, hinting at inner conflict. Emily stepped into her new life cautiously, like someone tiptoeing across unfamiliar ground. Her first day at Harpertech felt surreal. Instead of walking into a hospital ward or checking vitals, she found herself in a glass-walled office high above the city. The view was breathtaking, skyscrapers glowing under the morning sun. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong there. Her co-workers greeted her warmly enough, but she could tell some of them weren't sure what to make of her. Most of the team had advanced degrees from prestigious universities, and here she was, a former nurse without even a college diploma. It wasn't easy blending in when everyone else seemed so polished and confident. Still, Emily reminded herself why she'd accepted the job, to help people. That thought kept her going, even when self-doubt crept in. The work itself was fascinating. Harpertech's healthcare division was developing cutting-edge technology designed to revolutionize patient care. One project involved creating wearable devices that could monitor vital signs in real time, alerting doctors to potential problems before they became emergencies. Another focused on robotic systems capable of performing delicate surgeries with precision far beyond human capability. Every day brought something new, and Emily soaked it all in, asking questions and taking notes whenever she could. At first, her role was mostly advisory. Engineers would present their ideas, and Emily would offer feedback based on her experience as a nurse. "This button placement might be tricky for older patients," she'd say, pointing to a prototype. Or, "Could we add a feature that reminds users to take their medication?" Her suggestions were practical and grounded in reality, which earned her respect among some of the team members. Others, however, weren't convinced. During lunch breaks, Emily overheard whispers in the cafeteria. "She's not qualified for this," one man muttered to his colleague. "How does she know anything about tech?" Another rolled her eyes dramatically, saying, "I bet she just got lucky saving Daniel Harper." Comments like these stung, but Emily tried not to let them get to her. She reminded herself that proving her worth would take time and patience. One person who did support her was Alex Carter, a junior engineer assigned to assist her during her transition. Alex was younger than most of the staff, fresh out of university with an eager attitude and a knack for explaining complicated concepts in simple terms. He admired Emily's determination and often stayed late to help her understand technical details she struggled with. "You're doing great," Alex told her one evening as they reviewed blueprints together. "Don't listen to those jerks in the lab. They're just jealous because you have something they don't." "What's that?" Emily asked, raising an eyebrow. "Real-world experience," Alex replied with a grin. "They can design fancy gadgets all day, but you actually know how to use them in practice. That's rare around here." His words made Emily smile, but deep down she still worried. Was she really making a difference? Or was she just pretending to fit in until someone realized she wasn't cut out for this world? As weeks turned into months, Emily grew more comfortable in her role. She began contributing ideas of her own, drawing inspiration from memories of her nursing days. For example, she suggested adding a voice command system to one of the wearable devices, making it easier for patients with limited mobility to operate. When the prototype was tested, it performed better than anyone expected, earning praise from the entire team, including some of her skeptics. But despite her growing confidence, Emily couldn't ignore the lingering sense of unease. Something about Harpertech didn't feel quite right. She noticed small things at first: documents disappearing from shared folders overnight, hushed conversations ending abruptly when she entered a room. Then there were the emails. An anonymous sender occasionally sent cryptic messages warning her to be careful and look closer. At first, Emily dismissed the emails as pranks or misunderstandings, but curiosity eventually got the better of her. Late one night, after everyone else had gone home, she decided to investigate. Sitting alone in her office, she logged onto her computer and began digging through old files. It took hours of searching, but finally, she stumbled upon something alarming: evidence of a secret division within Harpertech working on experimental artificial intelligence. The files detailed projects involving AI-driven medical devices capable of diagnosing and treating patients autonomously. While the concept sounded promising, the data revealed serious risks. In several test cases, the AI had misdiagnosed conditions or administered incorrect treatments, leading to dangerous complications. Worse yet, the experiments appeared to violate ethical guidelines, putting vulnerable patients at risk for the sake of progress. Emily's heart raced as she read through the documents. This was bad, really bad. If word got out, it could destroy Harper Tech's reputation. But keeping quiet wasn't an option either. She knew she had to act, but how? Going public would mean betraying the company that had given her a second chance. Staying silent, though, would mean compromising her values. After much deliberation, Emily decided to share her findings with someone she trusted, Daniel Harper himself. Though he rarely visited the office due to his busy schedule, she managed to arrange a meeting with him the following week. Nervously, she prepared her presentation, gathering every piece of evidence she could find. By the time the day arrived, she felt ready, or as ready as she could be. When Emily met Daniel in his private office, she was struck by how different he seemed from the unconscious man she'd saved months earlier. Now fully recovered, he exuded authority and charm, yet there was a kindness in his eyes that put her at ease. "Emily," he said warmly, gesturing for her to sit. "It's good to see you again. I hear you've been doing amazing work here." She forced a smile, clutching the folder tightly in her hands. "Thank you, Mr. Harper. I've learned a lot since starting, but there's something I need to discuss with you. Something important." Daniel's expression grew serious. "Go ahead," he said. "You have my full attention." Taking a deep breath, Emily opened the folder and began explaining everything she'd discovered. As she spoke, she watched his face carefully, gauging his reaction. At first he seemed skeptical, almost defensive, but as she presented more evidence, his demeanor shifted. By the time she finished, he looked deeply troubled. "I had no idea," Daniel admitted quietly. This isn't acceptable. We'll deal with it immediately." Relieved but exhausted, Emily nodded. "Thank you for listening," she said. "I hope we can fix this, for the sake of everyone involved." Daniel promised to take action, and true to his word, he dismantled the rogue division within days. New policies were implemented to ensure transparency and accountability moving forward. Emily's bravery earned her widespread admiration, both within Harper Tech and beyond. Though her journey had been challenging, Emily emerged stronger and more determined than ever. She proved that even in a world driven by ambition and innovation, compassion and integrity could still shine through. And as she looked out over the city skyline from her office window, she allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. She belonged here, not because of luck or privilege, but because she had earned it. A dimly lit office at night, with a young woman sitting alone at a desk cluttered with papers and a glowing laptop screen. The room has a tense atmosphere, with shadows cast by a small desk lamp. On the computer screen are lines of code and confidential documents. The woman looks worried, her hand resting on her forehead as if deep in thought. Behind her, through a half-open door, faint lights from an empty hallway add to the eerie mood. Emily couldn't sleep that night. After uncovering the secrets of Harper Tech's rogue division, her mind was racing. She replayed the events over and over again, wondering if she'd done the right thing. Sharing the information with Daniel, Harper had felt like the only option. But now she wondered if it would come back to haunt her. What if the people behind those unethical experiments tried to silence her? Or worse, what if they decided to retaliate against others? The next morning, Emily arrived at work early, hoping to clear her head. But the tension in the air was palpable. Whispers followed her as she walked through the halls, and several colleagues avoided making eye contact. It wasn't hard to guess why. News of the scandal had spread quickly. Some employees were angry about the exposure, while others seemed relieved that the truth had finally come out. Either way, Emily knew she was at the center of it all. Her first meeting of the day was with Alex, who greeted her with a mix of concern and admiration. "You okay?" he asked, closing the door to her office behind him. "People are talking." "I'm fine," Emily replied, though her voice betrayed her anxiety. "Or at least I will be once things settle down." Alex sighed, pulling up a chair beside her desk. 说着，他叹了口气，拉了一把椅子坐在他桌旁。你确定吗？他说，这件事可能还没完，有些人不会轻易放过这种事。I know, Emily admitted. But what choice did I have? If I hadn't said anything, those dangerous experiments would have kept going. Someone could have gotten hurt or worse. Alex nodded slowly. You're right. And honestly, I think most people here respect you for standing up. Still, you should watch your back. Not everyone is happy about this. As the days passed, Emily began noticing subtle changes around the office. Files she had been working on disappeared without explanation. Meetings she used to attend were suddenly rescheduled or canceled altogether. Even her email account started acting strangely, with messages vanishing or being marked as unread after she opened them. It was as if someone was trying to isolate her, cutting her off from the rest of the team. One evening, as she stayed late to review some documents, Emily received another anonymous email. This time, the message was more direct. Stop digging. You don't know who you're dealing with. Her heart sank as she read the words. Whoever was behind this wasn't just watching. They were warning her. Determined not to let fear take control, Emily decided to dig deeper. With Alex's help, she began investigating the origins of the rogue division. They discovered that the projects had been funded by a group of investors outside Harper Tech, individuals with ties to controversial industries. These backers had pushed for rapid development, ignoring safety protocols in favor of profit. Worse still, they had influence over key members of Harper Tech's leadership team, including a few senior executives who stood to gain financially from the success of the AI-driven devices. Armed with this new information, Emily faced a difficult decision. Should she go public with everything she'd uncovered, risking her career and possibly her safety? Or should she trust Daniel Harper to handle the situation internally? After much deliberation, she chose the latter, believing that Daniel genuinely cared about doing the right thing. When she met with him again, Emily laid out all the evidence, including the involvement of external investors. Daniel listened intently, his expression growing darker with each revelation. When she finished, he sat silently for a moment, clearly weighing his options. This goes deeper than I realized, he said finally. If we expose this, it won't just affect Harper Tech. It'll ripple across the entire industry. But you're right, we can't ignore it. Together they devised a plan. Daniel would call an emergency board meeting to address the issue, head on, presenting the evidence Emily had gathered. At the same time, he instructed his legal team to sever ties with the problematic investors and strengthen internal oversight to prevent similar incidents in the future. The board meeting was intense. Some members argued that exposing the scandal would damage Harper Tech's reputation irreparably, while others supported taking responsibility and making amends. In the end, Daniel's leadership prevailed. He announced that Harper Tech would shut down the rogue division permanently, issue a public apology, and implement stricter ethical guidelines moving forward. The fallout was immediate. News outlets picked up the story, praising Harper Tech for its transparency while criticizing the broader tech industry for prioritizing profits over patient safety. Internally, the company underwent significant restructuring, with several executives stepping down or being replaced. Emily became a symbol of integrity, earning both praise and scrutiny from the media. Despite the challenges, Emily refused to back down. She continued working tirelessly to ensure that Harper Tech's new initiatives prioritized ethics and accountability. Under her guidance, the healthcare division launched several successful projects that improved patient outcomes without compromising safety. Her dedication earned her widespread respect, even from former skeptics. Looking back, Emily realized how much she had grown since accepting the job offer. She had entered Harper Tech feeling unsure of herself, convinced she didn't belong. But through perseverance and courage, she had proven that compassion and integrity could coexist with innovation. Though the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be.